Ann.
How are you?
Good.
Thanks for coming on the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
So you are my social media manager. You've been with me, it's over 2 years now, right?
Yes.
So you came in and you started handling all of our Facebook posts and Instagram and, all things social media. And we've had some pretty big learning moments. Well, for me, first of all, and I'm sorry, you still have to explain the difference between an Instagram feed and an Instagram story. So I'm getting there. But we also got through the whole Pinterest issue of our recipes not posting to Pinterest. And you got to the bottom of it, and they said it was explicit. It wasn't posting because it was explicit
content.
Yeah, butts and breasts, as in pork butts and chicken breasts. So we made headway with Pinterest there.
Was a big learning moment.
Yes. So, but thank you for all you do for us. We have a, I think, outstanding social media presence, and you are 100% the reason for that. So thank you. But you're here, you're here for a very specific reason, because this whole episode is about me trying to get, I get cranky about things that get popular on social media. And you're here to help me get to the bottom of why a thing that we've been doing for a very long time, which is baking, why it's this new and shiny hashtagable thing called sheet pan suppers. So we chatted with Lily earlier because she's taught a dozen sheet pan supper classes in the store. And so we talked a lot about why it works. And look, and I'm here to say that I'm totally for the cooking method. Like, I get it. It works. I've been doing it for a long time. I'm just trying to figure out why it's a thing. So Lily and I covered a lot of sheet pans, a lot of recipes for sheet pans, and she was a world of information. And then I jumped on a call with Molly Gilbert. She wrote Sheet Pan Suppers, a cookbook that I found out today is quite popular among other folks that I know. And she was a world of information. Her book was published in 2014, which is 5 years ago. So how many years is that in social media years?
About 100.
Okay, it's a long time ago. So her book in 2014 preceded a recipe from Dory Greenspan, I think on Bon Appetit, for a sheet pan chicken with apples. And I was looking specifically for the term sheet pan supper. So now, what I did find way prior to that is a term called tray baked dinners. So
never heard of
yeah,
that.
that's never gonna work. Like, no alliteration. Like, that's a terrible name. So it's definitely been a thing way before then. But Molly had great insight because she said that it was a 2012 recipe that inspired her and her publisher to research the book and write the book. And here we are. So she's very nice, and she didn't take credit for coming up with sheet pan suppers, but I'll just give her credit.
Yeah.
It was Molly. So I'm curious, from your perspective as a social media person, and you are constantly watching what's happening out there in the world. You are constantly coming to me with terms and ideas that you're finding, and you're like, this is trending. Maybe we should do something around this. And there's certain things like sheet pan suppers and probably like meal prep that really seem to take hold much more voraciously and longer than others. Like, how's all this work? Like, why are they such a thing?
Yeah, I mean, from my perspective, I feel like they are very attainable. So everything is on one pan. I can cut up potatoes, carrots, and chicken and put it on a pan, season it, and it's very attainable. And but they're also post-worthy too. So they're pretty.
Okay, explain more about post-worthy.
Well, so we talk a lot about our phones eat first in a lot of cases. So you go to a restaurant, you want to take a picture of your meal, post your Insta story, and I feel like with sheet pan suppers, I don't know, it's very colorful on the pan usually because you're putting a lot of different ingredients together, and when you post it, people are like, what is that? And they feel like they can do that at home themselves, just buy the ingredients and put them on a pan and you're done.
So from the perspective, let's talk about first as a perspective of you in real life, as just a person who is a young mother, young family, and you're busy, you're working. Charlie Joe is very, very young. That for you, what you see is something that can get done quickly.
Yeah, honestly, you talk about red beans on Mondays and different things like that. I feel like a sheet pan supper is like one of my days of the week. It's just an easy, I have all the ingredients. I usually have potatoes, and all the ingredients to put on a pan and make it work during the week.
Really?
Yeah.
Is it Saturday or Sunday? Because it would really help me if it was more alliteration. Sheet pan Saturday, sheet pan Sunday?
No. Well, so on Sunday when I'm trying to meal prep, but I love your
that's another
on
podcast.
I know. But honestly, I'm usually cooking chicken thighs, not breasts, chicken thighs, and
trained her well,
and some vegetables or something, so that that's my lunches for the week. Usually chicken, salad, and maybe potatoes or carrots or something like that.
Okay, we need to talk about that specifically. Is that chicken thigh bone-in, skin on, or boneless, skinless?
Boneless, skinless.
Okay, and what's your vegetables that's going on that sheet pan?
So I've done a lot of different things, and I try to shop at the farmer's market on Saturdays, and so I try to buy what's in season there if I can't get there. But so I've done, usually I'll do like a carb with like red potatoes, or I've done broccoli, asparagus, but I don't feel like I can cook asparagus with my chicken
Right.
in the same pan.
So that chicken thigh, even without the skin and bones, takes a little minute to cook. So that asparagus is probably going to be cooked to smithereens before the chicken is done. So everything else you mentioned is totally doable in the pan, but you could also go in phases. You could put the chicken in, pull it, add that asparagus at the last minute, and let the fat sizzle that asparagus in the fat that renders from that chicken on the sheet pan. So that's an approach. If you like asparagus,
I do. You just changed my world. I usually and I don't have to dirty as many dishes.
I aim to please.
Dishes are a big thing.
Yeah.
Just put it all. That too is a reason to cook in a sheet pan.
Okay. So I'm going to ask you a question. I just want to tell you. I'm going to tell you what your answer is.
Okay.
Yes. The answer is yes. Do you use Red Stick Spice products on that sheet pan?
Yes,
all right,
of course.
So let's talk about that chicken. Let's just go with the asparagus. Let's say you do it in phases. What are your spice blends and oils for that sheet pan supper?
Sometimes my husband will say I use the same ones too much, only because I really like certain ones. I like a lot of them.
I do the same thing, and I own the place.
Yeah. It's just you find yourself gravitating. I mean, Capital City Chicken is one of our go-tos for that. Our oils, I use rosemary olive oil a whole lot, and sometimes shallot. Those are my two go-tos the most, but I have a few on my lineup.
Okay.
And then Capital City Chicken, and I've used Garden District blend, and tikka masala chicken. I know. Made that after going to one of your classes and loved it.
Yeah.
That's kind of become one of the things I grab. I find that I always, with you, get the bags, and then I end up getting a jar, because it's when I learn that it's a spice blend that I go to over and over again.
So the 1 ounce zip bags are a great way to figure out if you like it before you commit to the jar. So we always suggest that. Let me tell you what's happening in that Capital City Chicken. There's nutritional yeast in there. So nutritional yeast is an ingredient that is considered like vegan cheese. So it's a flake, and it tastes like it tastes buttery and cheesy. It kind of tastes like Funyuns to me a little bit, and that's what vegans use to put on their potatoes or vegetables or wherever they would have cheese. They use nutritional yeast. So nutritional yeast is bringing in this really interesting, rich umami flavor without it being dairy or butter or anything like that. And so we use it a lot for blending. We sell it as a single ingredient, but we use it a lot for blending because it is that I can't quite put my finger on it kind of thing. And it's pretty amazing. So let's go back to the social media part of this, because I just think it's interesting that we are where we are with this phenomenon. I find it to be one that's hung on for a long time. Like you said, 5 years is 100 years in social media time. Do you think it is because maybe it's not a trend. Maybe it is a legit cooking technique that people keep coming back to because it works.
I mean, I think so. I feel like even to your point, I forgot what you called it before, or like before 2014, what it was
Tray
called?
baked dinner.
Yeah. I feel like, and you talked about
It's never gonna work.
Yeah. Supper is such a good word.
Yeah, it really is.
But no, I just feel like it has been around. We're just somehow calling it something catchier, and but it's a cooking technique. I don't plan to stop doing it. You know.
So think about, so you come to a ton of our classes and you're there handling social media, taking pictures sometimes. So you've been to several of them, and you said you do the thighs, but are there any other sheep pan suppers we've done that are like in your household?
So seafood isn't, and this is surprising living in Louisiana, but seafood isn't on my go-to to buy at the store. But you know, I've been to a class where you've done the shrimp fajitas, or the sheet pan shrimp fajitas.
Right.
And those are delicious. But so we've done mostly just chicken on a sheet pan, honestly.
Okay.
But I just don't buy that much seafood.
Okay. So your seafood cooks for the most part, other than a piece of salmon, which still cooks pretty quickly, but especially shrimp cook really quickly. So if you want fajitas and you want bell pepper and onion, or even like carrots, and you could do broccoli on your fajita if you want to. If you want all of those vegetables like crispy brown with shrimp, then you've got to go, it's got to be a 2-pan approach. Because first of all, if you load all of that up on the sheet pan together, it's going to be too much and it's just going to steam, and that's not the point of sheet pan cooking. We're looking for dry heat with even spacing around the food so that we can get to that GBD, that golden brown and delicious. So you definitely got to go 2 sheet pans. What I would do is sheet pan 1 would have shrimp and onion. You could do red onion or yellow onion, super thinly sliced onion, and seasonings. So you could do our jalapeno olive oil and our Taco Tuesday, say, and put those on 1 sheet pan. And then on your second sheet pan, that's where your bell peppers, more onion, and whatever else you'd like on your fajita. We're taking great liberties here with fajitas, but you could put some freshly cut corn on the pan, or a can of black beans that have been drained and rinsed and drained. That could go in the sheet pan, and then that one needs to roast separately and longer. So either that sheet pan goes in and your shrimp goes in later, or you pull your shrimp sooner, it kind of doesn't matter. But you definitely have to, I feel like sometimes the approach to some of these quote unquote trending or new and shiny cooking methods is that suddenly I can just do everything in this method and all I have to do is dump and forget about it. You do have to have some command on what's going on with the heat and the sheet pan. You know, a little bit of a command of science. Not a ton, but understanding that a shrimp cooks fast and a potato cooks longer. And so what am I going to do here? I'm either going to go in stages or I'm going to separate them. So Lily talked about today, I did a rapid fire of ingredients and what would go in the sheet pan, and I said white flaky fish, like drum. And she said potatoes, like thinly sliced potatoes. And those are like in a brick, kind of, you know, and you roast those first, and then you pull them out and you put that seasoned piece of fish on top. What? Wow.
That sounds good.
Yeah, pretty amazing. So, so I'm glad you're on board with the sheet pan. So, and I really am too. I'm just being super silly and cranky about it, but it really is a great cooking method.
Well, and I think that it's, to your point, you kind of said it really doesn't matter when one thing goes in, or like, you know, you need to know that shrimp cooks slower than than the other other ingredients. But I feel like it's made cooking a lot more attainable too, just for someone who maybe has never had to cook. For my husband's the really good cook in our relationship, but I try, but I feel like it's made it very approachable too for me.
I love that. Okay, so in addition to being a social media manager for me and other businesses in town, you own a boutique.
Yes.
So you own a boutique in Fort Allen, Louisiana. It's called Sosis.
Mm-hmm.
So you are definitely not a stranger to trends,
Right.
and what happens with trends. So tell me about, I'm curious, and you can speak from the place of fashion and what you see in your boutique. What's like the life cycle of a trend?
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I feel like influencers today really impact what we buy,
Mhm.
whether it's food or fashion.
Mhm.
And I feel like when you're talking about social media platforms, where trends might start on which platform,
Yeah.
I really do think it's different based on what industry, but I also think that where the generation that you're targeting lives the most, like for me, it might be Instagram.
Okay.
That the food bloggers or the fashion bloggers that I follow on Instagram, they really do impact what I buy, whether I buy it through their swipe up links or what I want to wear on Saturday night. I'm like, I really want to try that white on white trend, you know? Or I really want to try the sheet pan supper that this blogger made, you know. So influencers play a big role, but I also think, you know, where you're getting your information, what social or where you live the most on as far as social media platforms go, really impact that as well, because the way the information you see on Facebook, it looks different. It's not as photo heavy. I mean, there are lots of photos, but it's also links to articles and stuff like that. So a person living most on Facebook will probably click the article and read in more in depth. So then they're grabbing the exactly where to buy that top or that pair of jeans or that recipe.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm curious what you think about, you see the difference between original ideas and then how in capturing trends. And I'm immediately going to avocado toast. It's fascinating to me, first of all, that we wrote about it to begin with because it's avocado on toast, but that someone could still blog about that, you know, and avocado toast is, I think I think the social media world might be done. I'm not done. I'm down for avocado toast anytime.
Anytime of day.
But it's interesting to me that what propels that person to get up that morning and say, gotta do that avocado toast.
Right. Well, when you're
blog.
talking, when you're talking about like original ideas versus being a follower, I mean, I definitely think that sometimes we don't even know when we're being influenced, you know, by whether it is an influencer or it's just a social media, like you just kind of see your friends going to a local coffee shop and getting their avocado toast and your friends, oh, I really want to try to make that at home, you know, but I think that making things your own, if you are going to go into a trend, whether that is in fashion or in food, you have to make it your own. So, you know, you taking on a sheet pan supper, you know, in one of your, or cooking, hosting a whole class on sheet pan suppers, you might be talking about the trend of sheet pan suppers, but it's definitely red stick spices sheet pan suppers, you know, and I might be wearing white on white jeans and, you know, that trend right now in fashion, but I hope that it's more me. I might add a scarf or it's something like that. So it's not exactly what someone else did.
So someone's already established, what did you say, white on white?
Yeah.
Somebody's already established that trend. But Sosis has no problem posting about it because you're going to make it your own.
Right.
Okay. So an influencer isn't necessarily, it is an ad, but I've seen ads from celebrities on Facebook, and it's Kelly Ripa telling me to buy this appliance or whatever it might be. An influencer does it differently through trying it out on their own and like using the product.
Yeah, using it as a real person, you know. And sometimes it's not an ad. Like it might just be them using this baby product that they really like, and a lot of times it's like that, and a lot of them start off like that and then they get too big for
so some of them, because I think a lot of people think it's like fake or very much planned, but a lot of that comes from genuine place of, no, for real, I use this in real life.
Yeah.
And I just love it.
Yes, and some people that influence me online aren't influencers. You know, a lot of, I follow friends that just really love to cook, and they Insta story what they're cooking for supper, and it might inspire me to cook something similar or try that out, So they're not all thousands of followers on Instagram. They might just be someone you follow and look up to for certain areas of life, and go from there.
Yeah. Okay, that helped a lot. All right, this was awesome.
Yeah.
Go make a sheet pan supper. Make tomorrow sheet pan Saturday.
Will do.
Let's do this. I want you to define, from a social media manager's perspective, define influencer. Who paint what that person looks like, what they do in a day.
Okay. So in the most traditional form of an influencer, I would say they are someone that blogs and takes photos of themselves using products or wearing things or doing certain things in real life. So it's usually, maybe it's different products, but working it into their real life, and post on social media about it for a living. So that might be they blog twice a week, and they have photo shoots every other week, and they're shooting content for 2 weeks, but it's a post a day. It's Insta storying their day-to-day using products that have either been, some start out where they're just asking for products to be gifted to them.
So I get those inquiries sometimes, and you and I talk about each one and make decisions on each one. But does it ever happen backwards, where a brand
Definitely
reaches out, sees an influencer and reaches out to them?
100%. I mean, I think that once an influencer has made it, and it's a lot harder now with all the algorithms changing. I mean, even influencers are educating me a lot on Insta stories, on how Instagram's algorithms changed and why I'm not seeing any of their posts, and to go like their last 5 posts to be able to see them in my feed again. But I think that brands have shifted, not all, but a lot, have shifted a lot of their digital efforts to engaging with influencers.
Okay. So I have never purchased anything on Instagram. You just described a swipe up.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So I've never done that. I've never responded to anything from, I couldn't even tell you, an influencer. So true or false? So is it true or false that I have never been influenced?
I'd have to challenge you and say false, because I think that you might be being influenced even when you don't think you are, and even if that buying decision is delayed and made later, but maybe it's just something that you mindlessly were scrolling, and then you think you're in the store one day and you're like, man, that was some mineral-based sunscreen that I really need to get into, because I don't know why. Somebody on my feed was telling me I really don't need to buy sunscreen with iron in it anymore. I need to buy this. So I think that we can be influenced by a lot of different brands and people online. So I don't think you have to be this very traditional form of an influencer. I think that Red Stick Spice is an influencer. And yeah, I feel like you're influencing, encouraging people to cook more at home, and definitely influencing what people cook, and their approach to cooking and making it attainable, maybe with sheet pan suppers, starting there and then going all the way.
Oh my gosh, I've learned so much.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, and thanks for having me.
Absolutely, this was big fun.